All right, attention scholars, America's best colleges have been revealed. The U.S. News and World Report is out with its annual list, and we've got the inside scoop on how it was all compiled. Brian Kelly is the U.S. News and World Report editor and chief content officer, and he joins us now from Washington. Brian, good to see you.
Good morning.
All right, before we get into the top 5 schools, can you briefly explain how you rank these universities?
Sure. So we've been doing this for about 30 years. We've got some pretty good experience with it. And we look at 26 different factors. We survey the schools, we survey academics, we survey high school guidance counselors, and we compile all those factors in a basket that ultimately turns out to an index score. So we're looking at things like how good is the quality of the students coming in, what's the experience on the campus in terms of resources and faculty, and then as they come out, how well do they do in life? Alumni giving is a real key factor. How much do kids give back to the schools that they went to?
All right, there are 2 ties in the top 5. Columbia, my alma mater, Roar Lions. Roar had to get that in there. And Stanford are tied for number 5. How did you come to this decision here?
Well, it's just the numbers. You know, we don't sit there. I don't sit there and say, hey, I like these guys better than these guys. I love Columbia. I would have moved them up if I had the choice. But no, it is the numbers. And at the very highest end, in the top 10, say, we do find in some years, this year in particular, there's a couple of ties because these schools are so closely associated. They're all really excellent schools. And they're just tiny factors that might separate one from the other.
Also, University of Chicago and Yale are tied for number 3. University of Chicago has had a big jump in its rank over the past decade. What's behind this move? Yeah,
Chicago is a really interesting story because I think they've always felt a little bit underrated. You know, I used to live in Chicago and they call it the second city, but sometimes they have a chip on their shoulder out there. I think Chicago is a school that has really set itself apart with its personality. They're very rigorous. There's a certain kind of kid. They are proud of their T-shirts there that says "Where fun comes to die," and they've set themselves apart as a particular kind of school for a certain kind of kid. Very academically rigorous, similar in some ways to a Harvard or a Yale, but I think kids who go there have a different attitude about doing the homework and doing the studies.
Oh, I gotta love it. And speaking of Harvard, Harvard is ranked 2nd with Princeton taking 1st for the 4th year in a row. What sets Princeton apart from the other universities?
So the interesting thing about Princeton is alumni giving. Folks who went to Princeton seem to love having gone to Princeton, and they give them money. They come back, they give them money. Folks who went to Harvard, they certainly do very well, but I think they're not as loyal to their school. And that is a determining factor when you look at these ratings.
All right, Brian Kelly for us in Washington. Brian, thank you.
Thank you, DeMarco.